Welcome to Hypnosis. I'm your host, Sierra Bell. Thank you. Thank you for joining. This is called Hypnosis, and our organization is called Gnostic Studios, right? So what is Gnosticism? What is Gnosis? The simple answer is Gnosis is knowledge. Not just any knowledge, it is knowledge of one's true self. It's knowledge of the oneness of all things, and it is a knowledge that is supposed to grant salvation from evil. So if we have certain knowledge, we should be able to avoid evil. That is the simple explanation. And Gnosis is not really something you can just obtain through learning about it. Really, it's an experience. It's a personal journey that you have to go through. But Gnosis is something that we all can obtain. It's based on a knowledge that is in all things, a logic that exists in all things. Okay, logic, logos. Something interesting about the Bible, John 1:1. And if you're familiar at all with the Bible, we know John 1:1 is, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Well, the Greek term for word is logos. Word is really a small subset of what the word logos is used for. But logos is actually the word used there. So it should read, in the beginning was the logos, and the logos was with God, and the logos was God. What is logos? Well, in the Greek society, logos was the innate logic that exists in all things. Christ was an embodiment of logos. So you can think Gnosis is a very similar concept. It's a logic, a divine logic that we all can obtain, that is in all things. The truth is everywhere. We just have to search it. And it's sort of like an algorithm, really. When you follow an algorithm, we're all following some kind of, what is an algorithm, right? It's a set of instructions, it's a pattern. An algorithm is really a pattern, basically. We all follow a pattern. We all follow some kind of mental pattern, whether we like it or not. And the idea is to get another kind of pattern, another mental pattern. And our pattern is based on our logic, our feeling of how we should behave. We're following a logic all the time. Okay, and so that's kind of where our instincts come from. That's sort of where all our actions come from. Every action is based on our internal logic. And so the idea is to search for and ingrain in ourselves a certain logic, a certain pattern, a certain mental pattern to follow, a certain algorithm to follow that will automatically divert us away from vices. So that we're basically on autopilot. We are already on autopilot, okay? But we have to make a conscious effort to shift our navigation system. It's basically like changing our navigation system. Right now our navigation system is like all over the place. It doesn't know where to go, it doesn't know what it's doing, doesn't know how to really navigate that well. It's making turns, right and wrong turns all the time. But the idea is to obtain a logic, and that's through repetition, that's through a lot of different processes that we have to go through to train our minds to behave a certain way, train our minds to follow a new algorithm that navigates us. And so we don't have to think about it so hard anymore, and we can just act and automatically act in a divine way. But that's through Gnosis. That's through obtaining Gnosis. knowledge of our oneness, knowledge of the oneness of the Supreme. And then what does all of that mean? Knowledge of our connection to all things. Divine knowledge. Am I saying I have it? No, I'm saying I'm searching for it. And I'm saying that I acknowledge that as the most important thing to search for. Because that our intentions, our mental affects every single aspect of our lives. And I am after understanding what affects every single aspect of our lives. Anyway, so I figured this episode I'll finally discuss what the heck Gnosticism even is. And I'm going to do it by talking about Asclepius. Once again, we go to this book, The Perfect Discourse of Hermes Trismegistus. So, and what I'm actually going to be reading is pretty much like an analysis by Clement Salomon, who's the author, or I should say like the editor of this book, who I'll be reading from his introduction, excerpts from his introduction about Gnosticism and the Hermetic tradition. Hermetics and Gnostics. Christianity in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD was permeated by the views of the Gnostic sects, for these sects found it easy to convert to Christianity. The Gnostics, like the Hermetic cult, arose in Egypt, although there was also a rather different form of Gnosticism which spread from Persia and Syria. There are some striking similarities between Gnostic and Hermetic beliefs. The Gnostics derived their name from their view of knowledge. This was not something that was to be learnt from a book or heard from another person, but it was received through Gnosis, an inward experience of revelation, a sudden illumination. The effect was not dissimilar from that described by Hermes on page 13. Page 13, starting at the end of page 12. And what is it that divine love reveals? Ultimately, that the apparent multiplicity is in fact a unity. The elements, then, by which the whole world has been formed are 4: fire, water, earth, air. But Hermes also states, the world is one, the soul is one, God is one. This paradox appears a number of times in different forms throughout the Asclepius. It cannot be unraveled by the ordinary mind, except in a theoretical and misleading way. The real unraveling takes place only in experience, or perhaps in the realization that there is no mystery to unravel. This experience is not at all like the acquiring of facts from a book or lecture. The knowledge really comes from within, but its effect is to show that in reality there is no within and no without. It is a dramatic, instant transformation of the viewpoint from which everything is apprehended and experienced. There are no boundaries. The knowledge of God, says Hermes, is to be attained by a godlike concentration of consciousness. It comes like a rushing river, tumbling in flux from above to the depths beneath. The end of page 13. The word drunkenness acquired the non-classical meaning of being so immersed in worldly affairs that the words of truth cannot be heard. Oof, drunkenness, so immersed in worldly affairs that the truth cannot be heard. Drunkenness. Jesus says in the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, once again found in the Nag Hammadi Library, I found them all drunk. I found none of them athirst. Hermes inquires, whither are you being carried, O men, drunk as you are, having swallowed neat the word of ignorance? Drunkenness. Drunkenness. Ooh, that makes me think of this book, Empire of Illusion, The End of Literacy, and The Triumph of Spectacle. It's basically a book about our drunkenness. An entire book, Empire of Illusion. It's about us all being trapped in an illusion, in celebrity culture, in spectacle, being trapped by spectacle, and not being able to see our dying society. Morally and financially dying. We're drunk, right? We are drunk. I'm included. I like to use terms like we and our. I notice a lot of people that try to give advice or try to give philosophy, and they sort of put themselves on a pedestal as they're speaking. Like, y'all looking at Christmas like it's just about gifts or something, or you all are doing this, that, and the other, and you need to get yourself together. It's like we are in this together. I'm a part of it. A lot of people, to me, don't acknowledge themselves in the critique, and so it comes off. I think that causes a lot of noise. I think it passes a lot of ears because it feels like a finger wag versus, we all acknowledging. See if I can make my hair stop disappearing. Put my hair more in the Gita. We all acknowledging our struggle together. Me too, bitch. Like, I'm also having a hard time with my ego, right? Although the Gnostic sects held widely different views from each other, there was nevertheless a core of beliefs which was common to most, and much of this core, shorn of its Christian clothing, is found in the Hermetica. The essential Gnosis was the oneness of the Supreme. This signified more than what is generally meant by monotheism in the Judaic or Christian traditions. God, in his aspect of Father, did not make the cosmos. He is the cosmos, and there is nothing else. This statement of absolute unity is made at the opening of the Asclepius, and also in Gnostic literature. Jesus says in the Gospel of Thomas, the best known of the Nag Hammadi texts, "When you make the two one, and you make the inner as the outer, and the outer as the inner, so that you will make the male and the female into a single one, then shall you enter the kingdom." Here Jesus is not just proclaiming a fact, he is pointing to a profound spiritual realization to be attained through Gnosis.